Okay, this video we're going to complete our discussion on factoring trinomials. So the last category of trinomials that we factor I call generic trinomials. There really is nothing special about them. There's no pattern to them. They truly are some of the hardest polynomials to factor because there is no pattern to them. Here's an example. 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. The leading coefficient is not 1. It is not a perfect square trinomial. But we need to know how to factor it. Now, there are different methods for factoring. I'm going to show you one that I particularly like. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply 3 times 8. And we get 24. And then, just like we talked about with our leading coefficient is 1, we're going to list factors of 24 that then we're looking for the one that adds to give us negative 10. So we're going to list factors of positive 24. Well, of course, 3 and 8 give us positive 24, and so do negative 3 and negative 8. But when I add 3 and 8, I get 11. And when I add negative 3 and negative 8, I get negative 11. Neither one of those is negative 10. All right, so what about 2 and 12? We've got 2 and 12, or negative 2 and negative 12. Well, 2 plus 12 gives me 14, and negative 2 and negative 12 gives me negative 14, but neither one of those gives me negative 10. We have 6 and 4. 6 plus 4 gives me positive 10, so negative 6 and negative 4 give me negative 10. So negative 6 and negative 4 are the two factors that I'm looking for. Now, when the leading coefficient was 1, those were the two numbers that appeared in our factors. That's not going to be the case this time. But we are going to use the negative 6 and negative 4 to rewrite that middle term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my trinomial into a 4 or more term pattern by replacing negative 10x with negative 6x minus 4x, because negative 6x minus 4x equals negative 10x. So I can replace negative 10x with these two terms here. Now I have 4 or more terms that I can factor by grouping. So I'm going to factor these by grouping, and I'm going to group them this way. So when I look at these two, I can take out a 3 and an x. So I'm going to factor out a 3x, and I have x left here, and I have minus 2 left here. In these two terms, I can take out a 4. Now, I can either take out a positive 4 or a negative 4. I can see that taking out a negative 4 is going to be what I want to do here. So when I divide negative 4x by negative 4, I get a positive x. When I divide 8 by negative 4, I get negative 2. Now I have two terms, and they have a like factor. So I'm going to factor out the factor they have in common, which is x minus 2. And in this term, I have a 3x left, and in this term, I have minus 4 left. And I have now factored my trinomial by turning it into 4 terms. Let's do another example. Here's one, 6x squared minus 5x minus 6. All right, so with this method, we're going to multiply 6 times negative 6, which gives me negative 36. And we're going to list some pairs of factors, looking for the pair that I can add or subtract to give me negative 5. All right, to get negative 36, of course, I have my 6 and negative 6. But if I add those, I get 0. So that's not my middle term. All right, 9 and 4 give me negative 36. There's positive 9 and negative 4, negative 9 and positive 4. Well, negative 9 and positive 4 actually add up to give me my negative 5. So those are the pair of factors that I'm going to use to rewrite my trinomial as 4 terms. So I'll have 6x squared, and instead of minus 5x, I'm going to have minus 9x plus 4x. Minus 9x plus 4x equals negative 5x, so that I can make this substitution. And then minus 6. Now we want to factor by grouping because it's falling into another category. It's 4 terms now, so I factor by grouping. And when I group these two together, I see that I can take a 3x out. So I take my 3x out. What's left here is an x, or a 2x. And when I divide negative 9x by 3x, I get minus 3. In this group, I can take a 2 out. So remember, you have to take a 2 with a sign in front of it. So I'm taking plus 2 out, and I will have 2x minus 3 left. Now, my two terms have an identical factor in common, and it's 2x minus 3. So I factor out the 2x minus 3, and I have a 3x left in this term, and I have a plus 2 left in this term. So I have factored my trinomial by turning it into 4 terms. All right, let's do one more. Four x squared plus 17x minus 15. Okay, I want to multiply my 4 and my negative 15. Now, I'm going to show you something here that is really helpful when you do have larger numbers. 4 and negative 15 is going to give me negative 60, and that's not too bad, but sometimes we really do have some large numbers there. What you're really doing with that 4 times the negative 15, that gives you negative 60, you are really going to break these factors down into two groups. When you look for pairs of factors that give negative 60, you're looking at taking all of the factors in these two numbers and putting them in groups of 2. 4 can be broken down to 2 times 2, and 15 can be broken down to 3 times 5. Of course, there's a negative sign there. So what I'm looking for is two groups of these factors that add to give me 17. So, you know, I could say 4 and 15, but one of them has to be negative. If 15 is negative, then I end up with negative 11. If 4 is negative, then I end up with positive 11, and those aren't my middle term. I could group 2 and 3 together and 2 and 5 together. Well, 2 and 3 is 6, 2 and 5 is 10. So 6 and negative 10, or negative 6 and positive 10, but neither one of those add to give me 17. But if I look at these first 3, 2 times 2 times 3 is 12. 12 and 5. Well, 12 and negative 5, or negative 12 and positive 5, and that doesn't give me positive 17 either. Let's see if there might be one more. 3 and 5 times 4, which is 20. So we have 3 and negative 20, or negative 3 and positive 20. Negative 3 and positive 20 add to give me positive 17. So those are the factors that I want to use to write this in 4 terms. So we have 4x squared, and then minus 3x plus 20x minus 15. Now I can factor by grouping. So I'm going to group these first 2 and the last 2 together. When I group the first 2 together, I notice they both have an x in common, so I take my x out, and here I have 4x left, and here I have minus 3 left. The second 2 have a 5 in common. Now remember, I have to take either a plus 5 or a minus 5 out. I'm going to take a plus 5 out. And so 20x divided by plus 5 is 4x, and negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. So now I've broken my 4 terms into 2 terms that have a common factor, and I'm going to take that common factor out. So we have 4x minus 3 times x plus 5. And I have factored my trinomial. So when you're factoring these generic trinomials, you can multiply your 2n numbers and get this number and work on the factors, or if you're feeling a little more sophisticated, you can just look at those 2 numbers, the factors that make those 2 numbers, and think about grouping them into 2 different groups to come up with these numbers.